From Portsmouth, New Hampshire, it's Gary's
We need
Guitar
a theme
Chat.
song. That's right.
Oh.
That's what we're missing.
Oh,
We need a Paul Schaefer kind of guy, someone playing the Hammond organ in the corner.
right.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Mark. This is Gary. This is Gary's Guitars. And we're here to do our weekly live question and answer YouTube show, stream, hangout thing.
Chat is the word I frequently hear.
Chat. Yeah.
Love you guys' chat. Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
people do watch this. So if you're watching, thank you. And you're not alone. So what we usually do is we take questions from people who are watching. You can leave a question in the chat, and then we'll integrate it into our chat.
Mhm.
I'm chatting too much. Too chatty. But we start off with some of our own topics to kick things off, and then you can chime in on those too if you'd like. And then there's always the old, if you're not watching this in real time, go back and watch the whole thing and or subscribe, like, set the reminder bell. All that kind of stuff helps us bring this to you. And if anyone's out there, and it says there's a few people out there, just chime in and say hi and let us know you're out there and who you are. That way we can better serve you, our listening audience.
And if you do watch a pre-recorded video, please leave comments and questions below, because we do actually check back on old videos.
Yeah,
Not
to
every
see,
day, every week, but we go back and see if anybody left a question.
Yep.
So we will keep an eye out for those.
Yes, we will address any questions. That's what we're here to do. We don't prepare very well, if you haven't figured that part out. And so we.
What do you mean? It's been 40 years of preparation.
Well, that's right. It's the old. The old probably isn't true because it's so appropriate. Papa Picasso doodled on a napkin, and the waiter said, "Can I buy that?" And he says, "Yeah, sure." And he gave him a crazy price. And he's like, "That just took you 2 minutes to do." And he said, "That took me my entire life."
Right. 40 years of painting and making nothing.
Yeah.
It all works out to like $10 an hour.
And I have another Pablo Picasso story, but not right now. Let's get in. Let's try to get some people interested in what's going on here. And I want to bring up the first topic. It comes up a lot lately. It came up yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't ever come up unless someone was, but now people are getting real way into it.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
A fad?
It has to do with pot, not the kind you ingest.
Yeah.
It has to do with
cooking?
Volume pots.
Oh, potentiometers.
Potentiometers. And the big thing is linear and audio taper. What are they? What is the problem that leads people to think they need one and not the other? Let's just talk about that. So, linear taper, obviously, it's a line. It tapers, or
linear,
taper this way. So it's more of a 1-for-1 ratio. It keeps going down evenly. An audio taper is a logarithmic relationship that sounds right, but isn't linear.
It's that. I think that's where the confusion comes in.
Yeah,
because that's the age-old definition of a audio taper pot, and why it has to be audio tapered, because we don't hear linearly. So when the audio taper, you turn it from 10 to 8, and it actually goes down to 4, because it goes down really quickly. And then from 8 to 0, it does almost nothing.
On the linear taper, it appears to do.
No, that's the audio taper.
Okay.
Linear taper, you go from 10 to 5, you're at half.
Okay, it's half as much, right?
Roughly. But it's confusing because according to the textbooks, it goes from 10 to 8, but actually goes all the way down to 4, because that's the way we hear things.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, that makes sense until you talk to a guitar player and goes, why do I go from 10 to 8 and it goes to 4? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Well, do you not have human hearing? I don't know. All
right. So guitars come standard with
audio taper.
Okay.
Amplifiers come with linear taper.
Okay.
You wouldn't want your Fender amp, to go from 1 to 2 and nothing happens, and 2 to 3 and it's just
that's called
on.
the DeVille.
And then it goes full volume. But guitar players traditionally don't complain about it much, because they like to ride the volume with their pinky sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can go from 10 to tend to almost off with a fairly short move of your pinky, so you can get nice volume swells while you're playing.
Yeah. So so there are people like me who put the volume pot on 10 and leave it there. And then I only use my volume to turn myself down if I've made a mistake and I'm just too loud. First song of the night, like, oh boy, it's too loud, and here I'm not where it should be. I'll just use this thing I never ever touched to turn myself down.
Right.
Otherwise, I've always been at the feeling like more impedance. Like if you were like, what's the word? If you remember when you were a kid, you used to play with a garden hose and you used to crimp the garden hose and make less water come out the end.
Yeah.
And then you let it go and there's a lot of water come out. Like I want all the water to come out of the hose. I don't want to crimp that at all. Right. That's where my mind is at. However, and people out there might want to chime in on this because some people love playing with that volume knob and it does change your
tone.
It does change your tone as you change it, and your volume, of course, but it changes the amount, how your guitar hits the amplifier, and subsequently then it changes how the amplifier reacts to your guitar.
Right.
And I know people who they're playing with that tone knob as much as they're using the pick.
Right. Well, I'm a firm believer in start on 10. Volume, tones, all the way up. Take something out, you can turn it down. You can take out volume. You can take out tone. This is on a passive circuit. On an active circuit, it's different.
Yeah.
But that's literally what you're doing. You're sending that signal to ground.
That too. Yeah.
Or through a capacitor. So that signal is getting degraded, to put it bluntly.
But by getting mixed with the ground.
So, and as Eddie Van Halen demonstrated by taking basically all the electronics out of his guitar. So when pickup, jack, amp, that's the best sound. Get those things that eat up tone and resistance and add stuff.
But to our friends who like to eat tone,
right?
No, let's start. So people come in with a guitar saying something wrong with this volume pot.
Yeah.
You try it out. Like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. That's just how they do. Yeah. And they go, and then Gary says,
well, we found a guy who has CTS make really good quality linear pots. They're a few bucks more, but they're very linear, or as linear as I've heard.
Yeah.
And that satisfies almost everybody.
So they're specially made. We've been putting them in a lot more lately. We've been ordering them in bulk now because they're made by CTS, the best pot manufacturer out there probably, but they're made to work like an audio taper. I'm sorry, linear taper. And that usually satisfies most people, that urge.
Now, there are the occasional extremely fussy guitar players who want perfect taper, which at least on the guitar doesn't work. I think they're used to the average volume control on their radio, people don't have radios anymore.
No, on your phone.
No, that's
not.
All digital. I'm trying to think of something with a knob.
Something with a knob.
Well, a guitar.
TV, yeah.
You go to 1, that's 10% of your volume, roughly. You go to 2, that's 20%.
Which, that falls apart pretty quick too, depending on what amp you're playing. If you're playing solid state amp, and it's really a 100-watt solid state amp, it probably does that.
Yeah.
But if you basically on all my amps, they're all 10 watts and 12 watts. Once you get anywhere between 12 o'clock and all the way up is how much distortion do you want?
Right. It's not necessarily
it doesn't get any louder. It just gets meaner. So a few questions have come in, but let's continue on the pot discussion, which actually one thing we should mention, because I mentioned CTS, we highly recommend them. Should you upgrade the pots in your guitar? Which pots should be upgraded? Which don't matter? Does it really matter? What's Gary's super pragmatic?
If it works, don't fix it. What I usually tell people is if your pots function, and they're not the really cheap 75-cent pots, which you can get, they're fine. But they probably won't last very long. And when they break, spend the $2 more and put in some CTS pots, or at least the good alpha type Asian copies that will last longer, feel a little smoother, be a little less erratic. But either way, it's not a big, replacing 2 pots on a telly is $12 worth of parts and $25 worth of time. It's not like a huge modification.
Yeah, and it can. I've seen it improve because that's the thing. Especially if you're like me, you just leave it on 10 all the time. Whatever's in there is going to suck something to ground if it's not a good quality.
Right. Yeah, it is a circuit. It's going through
It's a
wafer
variable
inside.
potentiometer.
Right. It's changing your resistance and your output. Speaking of which, spoke to Scott Miller recently. I hadn't seen him in a while, partly because of the pandemic. He has revamped his pickup line, and he's making all new pickups with a new basic fundamental theory that he's developed, which I won't even begin to try to explain or even understand.
We should have him on to do it.
I talked to him about coming on here to talk about it, and he's very excited to do it. But he made the flat-out, blatant comment, DC resistance as it pertains to electric guitar pickups means nothing.
Okay.
I said, well, but Scott, I mean,
shots fired.
It can tell you if the pickup's working or not. It can tell you roughly how loud it's going to be. He said, ignore it.
Yeah.
Everything else really about the pickup is far more indicative of what it will sound like and how loud it will be. And then he started to explain it to me with Henrys and
Henrys. That's
like, wait a minute, I don't have a degree in electronics, so. DC resistance is a valuable tool, but according to one,
not the end all be all. Yeah,
not really helpful.
Well, I can talk about Henrys just as much as I know Henrys. I've known a couple of Henrys in my life, and I had an Uncle Henry. No, I've once. All right, so I will say in the transformer world for audio transformers, we do measure them. We also measure in Henrys, and we do a calculation to see where, because including guitar pickups, everything has a high pass filter on it. Everything dies off at some point, whether it's dying off at 100 hertz or 50 hertz or 30 hertz or 20 hertz. Everything that's wound like that, it just begins to fail at some point. And we evaluate the best audio transformers by measuring their performance. We throw like a volt through them, and we measure their performance at throughout the range of the audio spectrum. And Henry's is the rating we come up, is the system we use to come up with
for
the
that
rating.
drop off.
Yes, and you need a special meter to read Henry's, and if you read volts on your Henry's meter, you'll ruin it. Because we have a special meter only for Henrys.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like volts.
And if you use it as a voltmeter, Alex A gets also very mad. All right. So, but still catching up with the online world here, we did get, can you add treble bleeds to the discussion? Oh, blends. No, you said bleeds.
Bleeds.
Treble bleeds to the discussion. That's Michael Krause.
Does that mean to let all your treble bleed out?
Well, maybe we need Michael to
it's a term. I've
publish
heard
that. Yeah, treble bleeds.
It may be
that you lose the treble by going through the pot, or as you decrease your pot, you lose more treble, high end than low end, probably. Which I believe.
As you turn down a tone pot, passive tone pot, you're taking out treble.
Yeah.
You're bleeding. Maybe you're bleeding it to the capacitor.
But if that's in the circuit, then your capacitor will behave differently at a different impedance. Whew, yeah, that's something. So okay, so when you turn down the volume, you lose your treble. That's what I was talking about,
right.
And that's what I was also talking about, which isn't totally crazy about measuring the whole spectrum, because you lose everything. Does not come down all at once, and so and some people like that. I think the people who like to play with a volume pot, they don't. It's not the volume difference or the difference in amp. It just gives them a little jazzier, warmier tone.
Yeah. Well, we have a customer with many guitars who plays a lot, and every time I see his guitar, his volume control's on 2.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is check. Okay, put it on 10. Let's see this thing work. And then I say, "Why do you put it on 2?" He says, "Well, that's where it sounds best." To me, it sounds awful.
All right, let's catch up with some things here. Dub delay is on, so say hello to Pete, our man in Dublin. Matthew Schmid, SCHMID. Can you guys talk about the difference between the different Godin labels of acoustics?
Godin, Seagull,
Art and Lutherie, Norman,
Simon and Patrick.
Yeah.
Is that all of them? I think so.
for now.
Yeah.
And it gets harder. But okay, so let's take a few minutes because you remember Robert from the old days.
The old days.
The first thing was Norman, right?
No.
Well, when you bought seagulls from him, but before, Norman was the name of the guy he was in business with, wasn't it?
I'll get there.
All right.
Robert used to come around New England because they're from Quebec and it's close by, and he'd sell his guitars out of the back of his pickup truck station wagon to local stores. And those were Seagulls. There was no Godin guitars at the time. That's just his last name. So initially Seagulls, and then that was in the early 80s. By the 90s, there were a line of guitars called Simon and Patrick's, which were named after his two sons. They were step-up guitars, more traditional Martin looking with the squared-off headstock and other appointments, more because people complained about the pointed headstock endlessly and the matte finish. Oh, it's so ugly. I can't own that guitar.
But it sounds so good.
A pointed headstock. Ooh.
Yeah.
And about that time, La Patrie Classicals came out because we're both in the city of La Patrie in Quebec. And around that time, Old Man Norman, who was a small Canadian maker, was Robert's one of his competitors. And Old Man Norman was old man, so he was about ready to retire. And so Robert bought Norman guitars.
Yeah.
And then Norman guitars kind of disappeared for a while.
In the U.S. market.
Yes.
Because they're still more marketed in Canada. They are everywhere. Yeah.
Well, he bought the company for the factory.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was closer to Montreal or something. And so
right.
Some of the manufacturing shifted over there. And then around in the late 90s, Art and Lutherie showed up, which was, so now they had Seagull in the middle, Art and Lutherie, similar, almost identical guitar in a lot of ways for less money. Simon and Patrick's kind of disappeared for a while.
So Simon and Patrick, Simon and Patrick are his two sons' names.
Right.
And they now own the company.
Yes.
They were intended to be a premium guitar. He said he wanted it to be for folk players, so he used Simon and Patrick to invoke Simon and Garfunkel. He says it's the marketing genius of Robert. And I think they've always been around, but they just come and gone a bit.
Right.
But now there's Godin Acoustics.
So that's the latest as of 3-4 years ago?
Yes. That's their most premium guitar.
Their new flagship line.
That's the one they want to compete with Taylor's.
And
Martin's and whatever. If you want to spend a couple $1,000, buy our guitar.
Right.
You know, that's the.
And there's a lot to be said for it. I'm staring at one.
Yeah.
But so that's the basic Godin story. Robert is still around but retired. He's out doing public speaking and making people interested in guitars. There's some great lectures with Robert on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's way into guitars.
He loves to talk and he loves to talk about guitars. So yeah, he's and real nice guy, at least I know some people work for him. We didn't call him a real nice guy, but it's hard work. But a real nice guy and a great company.
Take it from driving around New England in your station wagon to being the largest maker of guitars in
North America. Yeah. So they make more guitars in North America than Fender does.
Right.
He built a cool little empire. He did it his way. He designed the guitar the way he wanted to, and just a lot of innovation too. A lot of people come around to his way. And my joke about the Fender Acoustic Sonic, which I call a marketing ploy, their new Acoustic Sonic guitar line, is
where have I heard that word? Acoustic.
Yes.
Acousticaster.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that from Godin.
Is Fender's version of a Godin guitar from 15 years ago.
Acousticaster's been out since. Well, that's right. The Godin name first appeared on Electrics. That's what I left out. There were Godin Electrics.
Oh, yeah. Godin Electrics was the first. Right. So it is confusing. And when Simon and Patrick took over the company, they decided to simplify. They did away with a lot of models. Yeah. They have made it less confusing, but it's still confusing. And then Michael Sullivan says he loves his Seagull. All right, let me catch up with some more comments here. Right here, Michael Sullivan also asks, he has a Tascam 424 that he would like to get rid of. And so, yes, there are people specifically interested in that, so we can help you get rid of it.
The cassette one?
Yeah, the cassette one.
Yeah.
There are people who just still like to record on those. They are kind of useless, but we have people come in.
And they have 100 cassettes that they recorded.
That they need to
they have no place to
off.
play
So it does, bring it by. We'll find it a new home. we'll get you some money for it. Dan McCaskill says, I have a made in Mexico Strat that I put Graphtec saddles on because of scratchy, grubby screws. The G-string was dead. I put the old steel one back. Still dead. Tried changing strings. No joy. Ideas. So he has a Strat made in Mexico.
Yeah.
He swapped the saddles.
Put Graphtex on.
Yeah. Sounded like crap. Put the old ones back on. Still sounds like crap. Just the G-string.
Well, when it's open,
Yeah, that's
it's
the
probably
question.
your nut. If you're like a lot of people and you like to put crap on your nut, like lead and stuff, it does eventually build up, and if nothing else, compress the string so tightly in the nut that it can't really vibrate. So the first thing I do is lift up your G-string, take a little sharp tool. You don't want to make the slot any deeper, and scrape out any black crud that's in there. And that might do it. If not, you can go back to the saddles, especially the older metal ones. There might be a unevenness or wear in the saddle. With the Graphtex, new Graphtex, it shouldn't be that.
Should be working. Yeah, so if it only happens when it's open, blame the nut. If it happens everywhere on the string, then blame the saddle or blame something else going on.
About 1 in 100 times that I get this complaint, it's the string. Well,
yeah.
I don't know what else it could be. Let's put on a new G-string.
It's a bad string.
There we go. It works fine now.
Happens once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, oh, the string's bad.
Yeah.
Came out of the package bad.
Right.
No one's perfect.
It's like a 9-volt battery. I just put a battery in it. Well, it's dead. Well, it's brand new. Well, it's dead.
All right. Yeah. So that's Dean. I might call him Dan. But welcome. He says he was watching the YouTube videos and enjoying that, so that's good.
Welcome.
Let me do some more catching up here. So after Dean, we got Michael said turn on the volume. La Patrie, Seagull.
Mark's reading your question.
Yeah.
So
I
think he's trying to organize it into some.
Oh, no, Michael wants to buy the 4-track, so maybe these guys will get together on their own.
I thought Michael was selling it.
No, Michael to the other Michael.
Oh, there's two Michaels.
Michael Sullivan and Michael Krause. They might be getting together.
Well, Michael Krause, if you send us an email, we can probably put you in touch with Michael Sullivan.
Or they can just send it to each other on the...
Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys probably have computers and can do the internet. Right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. Godin, is Seagull okay? I don't know here in Canada for sure. Are they from Quebec?
Yeah.
Who's a Canadian guitar maker that Chris Hadfield, the astronaut, played on the International Space Station?
Oh, Seagull went to the...
Was it a Seagull? That's the question.
I remember that a Seagull was the first guitar on the space station. No.
Could be. It probably wasn't the first guitar, but probably the best guitar.
Martin Backpacker. I think that was the first guitar.
I can't... No, there was... Maybe it was... Oh, maybe because he might be a newfie. Maybe it was that Garrison guitar. Yeah, I might have to find that out. Because if he, I don't know. So where is he from is the question. And
well, there's...
where in Canada is he from? So anyways, for those of you who aren't reading, someone asked about who's the Canadian guitar maker that Chris Hadfield, the astronaut, played on the International Space Station. He's the one who played David Bowie's Space Oddity.
Oh, on the space station.
On the space station.
I never saw that. So
yeah, just Google that if you have, but not right now, but later, Google it. Michael says he already has 2 4-tracks. He doesn't need it, but like I said, we'll find someone for that. Bring it by. Thank you. Any inside dirt on the new Tonemaster, Princeton's or whatever's? He's asking about.
We did talk about those a few weeks ago, but
yeah.
We can talk about them some more.
Andrew says he played a Larrivee and he's from Ontario. But Jean Larrivee is living in California and has been for some time, so he wasn't necessarily. He better have been playing a Canadian Larrivee. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
if you're going to be that Canadian about it.
Seagulls on the East Coast and Larrivees in British Columbia are on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. And then, like somebody else, he moved to the United States, and the word got out fairly quickly that they're not as good as they used to be. So, yeah.
Larrivee, the Canadian Larrivees are, they're just, I don't know what to say. So Larrivee made a deal with Guitar Center.
Oh.
to sell guitars at Guitar Center.
Deal with the devil.
And so he did not give his A-list guitars to Guitar Center. He said, if you're going to pay me shit for the guitars, you're going to get my worst guitars. He didn't tell them that. But he would purposely ship, like, keep the A-list stuff for the other stores and direct sales or whatever. B-list stuff goes to Guitar Center because they're not going to pay us for it, or they're never going to pay us for it, whatever. And so Larrivee actually came down a little in prestige, but I think the story is because because people bought so many Larrivees through Guitar Center that he had to either engineer them to be cheaper to be able to sell them there, or some kind of.
Well, I think actually what happened was when Larrivee was in British Columbia, he was in the shop building guitars with probably 3 or 4 other guys. They were small makers,
looking over his shoulder,
really good. And they got popular, and we need to make how many guitars, Nick? 10,000 guitars? There's no way. So they started farming it out and ended up going to the United States. And now it's probably a shop with 300 builders. And John Larrivee is just in his office doing stuff on the
cashing
computer.
checks.
So
he's signing the backs of checks all day long. That's what John Larrivee.
So it happens to pretty much all companies when they go from small, handmade, high quality to everybody in the world wants one, and the quality goes. So.
All right, so I'll talk about Towmaster for a minute, just because I have been lately. I did make a video about this because I bought a Towmaster amp.
Deluxe?
I'm not afraid. I bought the Deluxe.
Well,
I'm not afraid to admit it. Well, like, hello, my name is Mark, and I I own a digital amp.
Don't play a tube amp anymore.
My other 19 amps are all tube amps. I'm a tube amp snob, and I'm an amp snob. I do not even have a Fender amp that was made after 1972. Like, all my stuff is, I was in this business back when it was cheap, and I bought the good stuff and I kept it.
Yep.
So, having said all that, the Tonemaster is a great little tool. It sounds fine. It's not exactly the same, but it's a good sounding thing. Just like a Nord keyboard isn't the exact same thing as a Hammond organ, but man, it's a lot easier to carry to a gig upstairs. So I think it's a tool, and it's a good tool, and I like them, and I bought one, and I don't regret it. Whew. It's a big weight on me about that. So I like the Deluxe one. Thank you.
I think that's what they do. They clap. They clap.
Yeah. So I think we did sell the twin. So they make 2 versions of it. They make a Deluxe and a twin version. We sold some of each. The Deluxe is a little more popular because people are scaling down anyways.
Right.
Even though it's a super light twin, people are like, oh, I don't need all that amp. And so that's my little rant on Tonemaster. The new Princetons, I'll tell you, the 68 Princeton is great. The 65 Princeton is essentially the same thing with a black face on it. I think we even saw, because
we had one of each not too long ago, and I looked at, because somebody asked me, what's the difference aside from the black faces? So I usually can tell a Fender amp exactly what it is by the chassis number, which is usually on there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like 722, it's usually 3 digits. So I looked, and they were both the same chassis number. Like, well, I think that means they're exactly the same, except one's a black face and one's a silver face. And the cabinets were different colors or something, but.
They're remarkably similar to each other, and both just fine. And people argue for days with, the 65 is the best one, the 68 isn't. If there is a difference, I'd be hard pressed. Other things could, speaker choice, year of manufacture, that I would figure more into it. We do have the hand wired one, just came in for a special order, hand wired Princeton, which is super. Is it 3 times as good? Or more than twice as good? And the price is more than twice as much. The hand-wired Princeton is $22.50. They might have gone up already, so $23.50 or Fender. Everyone's prices are going up.
Yeah, what you pay for an old Princeton?
That you
can't find.
Right, that you can't find, and that will not catch fire while you play "Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire," because these 50-year-old amps, dependability is a problem if you're playing 3-hour gigs, especially anything crazy like that. Okay. Michael Sullivan says Jean Larrivee cashed 4 checks from me and my sister. That's good. That Stephen McElroy he's my brother. He gets on here to taunt me. He says, what was the most embarrassing situation while playing guitar at a gig or studio? Most embarrassing situation playing guitar. I know what happened. I was playing with Jupiter too. All my embarrassing situations.
Just that's
happened with
embarrassing.
Jupiter too. See if Bob's on
I hope
there.
Bob's watching.
I went to play a solo. No, I wasn't. No, I was playing chords. It was a Spinal Tap moment, basically. So we're on stage blasting. This is a loud band, folks. We hadn't played together in years. On stage just blasting this music and playing. And then I was out of tune, so I thought, I'll tune. I think I had the clip-on snark, and I hit my mute button, and I start to tune, and it won't tell me anything. So instead of having a mildly out-tuned guitar, I had a really out-tuned guitar. I was like, oh, well, I got to play the solo. Here it comes. And I played the entire solo with a string like at least 3/4 of a step off. And Charlie was in the audience. He goes, that was a Spinal Tap moment. So that answers that question.
I'll tell you mine. I got mine over right off the bat. In my first gig, I'm trying to think of the year. It could have been 63, 64.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a trio, guitar, bass, drums. I was the guitar player. And we were playing at a battle of the bands at junior high school. And there was a lot of people there.
And that was, 65 years ago or something? How long ago was that?
No, 50 something.
Okay, 50 years ago, yeah.
And I had a Silvertone Twin 12 with reverb and tremolo.
Mm.
And my Burns Duo Sonic. And I had the foot switch. Turned the tremolo off and on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was first gig.
Yeah.
The way it was set up, we were on the floor in the gym, surrounded by people. There were bands like just set up, and the crowd would just go to the band playing.
Oh,
so we get going, we get tuned up, we look up, and there's like 800 people. Okay, pipeline.
Uh-huh.
I go, brrr, I hit the tremolo button, hit the chord, and the tremolo didn't come on. It's supposed to go, blah, 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 blah. And I just totally froze. I didn't know what to do after that. The band kept going.
Yeah.
Now they're someplace, I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
I think finally it came on, and then I went boom, but it was in the wrong place.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I think we must have stopped. Okay, and the next song is.
Yeah. But you didn't know you invented Jules Holland's Hootenanny show. That's what they do on that BBC show. All the bands set up in a circle, and the audience walks around each band.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that's fun. So Dean's question was about the any new models or anything coming from Fender for the. I don't know more Fender gossip. They're having a dealer event in 1 week, and they're going to reveal all the holiday models and any new stuff happening. They're not going to NAMM this year. No summer NAMM. They were at Winter NAMM. I didn't bother tuning in. I was just depressed. And so this would be the big reveal if anything is coming. Not that I know of at this time. They're having so much trouble making the stuff they're supposed to be making that I can't imagine they're going to introduce anything new that's going to be natively Fender made, as in made in California or Mexico. I think all the new stuff they're going to be doing is going to be import stuff because they can just pay someone to make it for them, put their name on it. Thoughts on Taylor guitars? Uh-oh. This is going to be a tough one because
I think we've done this brief. We're actually getting to the point where we've talked about almost everything briefly.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
I was just about to say something, and I went, "Oh wait, I think I said this 10 weeks ago." Bob Taylor, like John Larrabee, started out as a small shop. He was there making guitars with a couple other guys, and the ones I've seen from I don't know if they were in the 70s, the early 80s anyways, they're really good.
They're remarkably like Martin copies.
Yeah. Yep.
The one that one of our regular customers has one. Right. It's the nicest Martin from 1982 I've ever heard.
But then Dave Matthews came along, and oh well, Taylor's got mediocre.
Taylor just they up production, I guess. I don't know, but also, a lot of their design. I mean, Taylor is a very specific guitar. It sounds different. he started off trying to sound like Martin, but then he was like, no, I can do this better. And Taylors have a sound, and people who love that sound love the guitars. Our joke is, I've never played a bad Taylor, and
I've never played a great Taylor.
Yeah, I've never played a great Taylor. They're all okay. But there's no, like, every once in a while you pick up an old Martin and strum it, and there's just just overtones flying all. Oh my God, this is a great guitar. Now we do sell. We have a couple used ones at the store right now. And and if you like Taylors, then you like Taylors. Taylors are the Subaru of acoustic guitars. If everyone who drives a Subaru had to make a choice. They had to look at it and go like, am I going to drive that thing? And then they drive for a year or two and they become Subaru evangelists. They become Subaru lovers. They drive Subarus for the rest of their life. I have a friend who sold a Subaru, bought a Toyota, and 6 months later had to sell the Toyota and buy another Subaru. And that's the Taylor thing too. Once you tune into whatever that thing has to offer, then they got you for life. I wouldn't buy a Subaru for the money they cost. But people insist on Subarus, and people insist on Taylors.
I hadn't formulated this before, but I've often thought that Bob Taylor had a genius in making that same guitar over and over and over. But it just dawned on me. What do you do? What do you get when you take a talented guitar maker and give them a computer and tell them to design the guitar on the computer?
Yeah,
you get the same guitar over and over and over.
Oh, right, yeah. There's no variation. Yeah,
and then Dave Matthews made that sound great. I remember in the 90s. Well, what sound do you want? I want Dave Matthews sound.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, that's a Taylor.
Yeah, part of it, ease of play. Everything, nearly everything comes with a cutaway. People love that. Although I don't think anyone's ever played up there personally, but Dave Matthews hasn't.
Lots of great guitar players play them, and they like that sound.
Taylor's making those higher end electrics now, some hollow body electrics that people love.
The T5s.
Yeah. So innovative company. And then, so Robert Taylor also has done a great job with, getting being a big company, but, trying to remain sustainable, trying to be, not a jerk about it.
Oh, he's been leading. There's part of my proposed topic that hasn't fully developed was how does the climate change affect the guitar world? I'm still working on that. But Bob Taylor, along with Chris Martin at Martin and some other well-known builders, or in fact, guitar owner name people, are leading the fight for renewable woods, sustainable woods, wood alternatives. So
just watch the video someday on YouTube about Robert Taylor cornering the market on ebony to force everyone to be more sustainable about ebony farming.
Right.
So basically, ebony, you got to cut down 10 trees to make one fingerboard, because everyone wants that just jet black, tight grain ebony, and that's not how it grows. And so they would just cut down all these ebony trees and just leave them laying around and only take the best ones, and everything else would just be left to rot. And now they're getting endangered or something like that. And so what he decided to do was he cornered the market on it, and then told everyone else, okay, you're going to have to get some stripy ebony. You can have some primo stuff too, but you're going to have to buy some stripy ebony too. It's just, or some lighter tone ebony, or, just like, it's all good ebony. It just, it's not going to have that look. And so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said it quite like that. That's how I would say it.
Stripy ebony. 9.
Michael Krause said, I'm driving a Subaru right now and I hate it. Also, my scratched up Baby Taylor was worth the $100 I paid for it. So, so he has a Baby Taylor and a Subaru. So, and then another question was, what is the BMW of guitars? If Taylor is the Subaru of guitars, what is the BMW of guitars? Let's see.
Charvel. We were talking about Charvel earlier.
Yep, play great.
Jackson Charvel. Sporty. Well done. But I guess they've lost the sporty BMW. That's not necessarily the same thing anymore. It used to be.
Yeah, now they're more of a luxury
people bought Beamers because they were fast and sporty.
Yeah.
But now
so Martin, so it's a status symbol car sometimes. So the Martin is a status symbol guitar. Some people are like, it's time I get a Martin.
Right.
I got my law degree. I passed the bar. I want that Martin. And that's a thing. And here's the other thing. People talk about like, oh, you don't deserve that guitar. Or even people saying about themselves, I don't deserve this guitar. You deserve any guitar you want. Even at $2,000, guitars are cheap for what they can give to you and what they are. So everyone deserves a Martin or whatever guitar you're into. BMW equals PRS. That's a good point. Yep, that is. Yeah,
Okay.
because that's a good analogy. So what is the Honda of guitars? That'd be Ibanez, right? Never
Honda,
seen
Toyota.
Yeah. So and we hardly ever see Ibanez with any problems.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying about like the Teton series,
Yeah.
the Fender Acoustics, as opposed to the Recording Kings, or those are the Kias.
Yeah, right.
These are the Honda, Toyotas.
Yeah, Honda's a good decision.
Yeah.
Toyota right down the middle.
Works fine.
Yeah.
Won't give you any problems. Lasts
Will
a
not
long time.
will not impress anybody
Yeah.
except other people who own Hondas. So like,
If you
don't
need
do
a
it.
tailpipe. It's not stupid expensive.
Yeah, right. So let's see here. Checking the comments. I think. Dean McCaskill asked about peak guitar, which I mentioned in another video.
Peak.
Peak guitar. When will we have enough guitars? We
Oh.
talked about this actually in a previous live as well, so you can check that out. Maybe a week or two ago, but yeah, this whole pandemic has changed the peak guitar thing because I thought we were heading right for it, and now apparently not. There's more guitar demand than ever. So
yeah, I bet there's, because of the pandemic, we have 50 to 100 new guitar players in town.
yeah.
Because I always wanted to learn, and I just got a check, and I can take $300 of it, and I got nothing.
And I got time. Yeah, right,
I'm buying a guitar and learning how to play. And well,
Yeah.
great. We were just thinking guitar playing was on the downcline, and now it's on the incline.
So we'll see how it lasts, but for now we'll bask in it.
Right.
We're glad that people love guitar. Guitar is an easy instrument to love. It is not difficult to play somewhat. It's difficult to play well, but anyone can get something done on the guitar.
Right.
They're inexpensive. It's an American tradition, So
So is the question actually, will there ever be too many guitars?
yeah,
in
when
the
will we
world?
just have enough guitars? Like everyone, like if Fender makes 1 million guitars a year, and they've been doing it since probably the 70s, when will there X million, like for example, so we need a demand to fall off and production to be adequate.
Right.
And so like we've reached peak accordion. You can go to a yard sale and get an accordion.
Yeah.
Just
you can
'cause,
come here and get an accordion.
Yeah,
I
right.
think there's one up back there. Mark, why is this accordion still here?
So and there's other instruments that came and went. I was talking to a customer today about the tenor banjo. I like the tenor banjo. I got a tenor banjo. You can still buy a tenor banjo for any money because 5-string banjo players hate them.
Right.
And tenor banjo is a very specific instrument, and it's run its course.
Put the right strings on it, tune it like a guitar,
And have some fun, yeah.
Well, I think I just had a thought about peak guitars. I think because of their relatively low value, we may never have too many guitars.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how many guitar players do you know that only has one guitar?
Yeah.
How many guitar players do you know that have 6 guitars?
Yeah.
How many guitar players do you know that have 250 guitars?
A
A couple.
Yeah.
So as long as people are buying and accumulating, and
Yeah, they're just such a magical instrument that people just, you buy a guitar, you feel better for that day, and it might be worth it.
you could take $1,000 and go buy 3 pretty good guitars, maybe 4.
Especially some of those, Asian-made guitars are coming around now from all sorts of companies.
Right.
The Fender Contemporary and the Classic 5. What do we call it? The Esquire versions of those.
Right.
Nothing wrong with them. And prices are going up slightly on everything. If you haven't noticed this, everything's gone up. 29 is the new 99. All prices used to end in 99, and they all end in 29 now.
$6.99 is now $7.20.
$7.29, and then actually $7.29 is now $7.49.
inflation's here.
Yeah. So,
Well, I want to stretch your analogy a titch.
yeah.
For there to be too many guitars, the guitar will have to fall out of popularity,
Yeah, exactly.
like the
accordion.
banjo and the accordion, which I suppose could happen. But what's going to take its place? I don't know.
Everyone's
it looked like maybe ukulele, but
ukulele is is a little guitar, and it's a gateway drug to the guitar. That's what I say.
Right,
That's what people who get good on ukulele get curious about the guitar. And those people are like, oh man, I tried to play guitar, but it hurt my fingers, and it took 3 months, and I didn't want to do that. That's why the Generation Z love them, because you can be playing ukulele by the end of the day, and that's what they're used to. If you give a 17-year-old a guitar and say, play this for 6 months, it's going to hurt like hell. Your fingers are going to bleed, and after 6 months, you'll be okay at it.
Right.
You won't even be good yet. They're like, forget about it.
I've had a handful of customers. I hand them a ukulele. I pick one up. Okay, put your finger on the 3rd fret of the string, and then go down chromatically. I can show them the first 3 bars of something in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They're, whoa! And they go home and they can play part of a great song in 10 seconds. It's that easy.
Yeah. So let's go on here. What have the new guitars been buying the most? The new guitar players been buying the most.
Pedals.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, pedals have been more popular than ever. Although a customer told me that they were at Guitar Center and they had like 10 pedals in the whole place.
I heard 8 from another customer.
So like people have been coming here for pedals because ain't nobody got pedals but us. We usually try to keep between 60 and 100 pedals in the store. We might have 60, right now.
Yeah, it keeps spreading. Used to be all there. Now there's some.
We got a lot of pedals, and but pedals are big because people just have fun with them. But as far as guitars, people buy Fender, big.
Strats, Tellys, Les Pauls, Acoustics. Acoustics more and more have to have a pickup.
Yeah,
it was an option for a long time, and I frequently told people, just buy whatever guitar you like. If it doesn't have a pickup, we can put one in for you. It's about the same price.
Yeah, but now it's not about the same price. Guitars that come with a pickup, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, now
it costs like $50-$60 more.
Right, instead of $150.
Mm-hmm. So, acoustics, here's a trend. In the acoustic world, people want slightly smaller acoustics. It used to be Dreadnought or you're an asshole. That used to be the everyone's. If you weren't playing a Dreadnought, then you're a weirdo. Now people like playing the triple O or concert folk size. Mm-hmm. They like parlor guitars are really popular these days. Baby Taylors.
I remember first hearing the term around here, the small guitar club. Yeah, in the 90s. Somebody bought an old LGO or something, and it sounded amazing. The next thing you knew, 3 years later, everybody had a little guitar because they have a great sound.
Yeah. So it's less important, although also with so many guitars coming with pickups on them.
Yeah. Plugged in.
Then plugged in, really, it doesn't matter. The Dreadnought guitar was invented to be loud because there were no guitar amplifiers.
Right.
And then the Archtop was invented to be even louder because there were no guitar amplifiers. But I like to joke, and it's not completely a joke, that the Dreadnought is sexist because it's so large that women can't. Sometimes
under 5'8", it's too big.
Or depending on the shape of your body, the fact that women aren't mostly. Some women.
Very linear.
Yeah, aren't linear. They're audio taper, not linear taper.
So the electricians call it.
Yeah. So it's sometimes hard to comfortably play the guitar, and then you step it down just a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay. And then your size, depending no matter who you are, a Dreadnought guitar can be big for someone who's my size. Because also, I got a round front. The guitar might have a round back, and then the guitar's out here. I don't like playing Dreadnoughts. I like a guitar I can hold closer to me. So. Can you explain a little Dreadnought versus a triple O?
A little Dreadnought.
Little dreadnought.
Well,
What-
there is somebody. Somebody make something called a little
Maybe,
dreadnought, which
yeah,
is
yeah.
I think it's a parlor size.
Oh, but it's dreadnought shaped.
Hey, but it's shaped like a
Oh, okay.
dreadnought.
Yeah.
I think.
Whereas Triple O has 2 distinct bouts and a smaller waist.
Right.
And so it's body shape, not size that we're talking about when we talk about that. And then also this stuff is not standardized. Martin called it a Triple O. Gibson called it a concert. Maybe what Gibson called their Triple O.
Well, the LG series
Yeah.
was roughly that size. No, they were
No,
smaller.
LG is a different
They're more
shape
like a
too.
double
But
O.
yeah,
Well, I have to go back to the origins, of course. Martin, I think it was when they came out with the Dreadnought, it was much bigger than anything else, and they didn't know what to call all these other guitars.
mm-hmm.
Somehow they came up with single O, double O, triple O in order of size.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, single O is what we call a parlor guitar. Double O is sometimes called a grand concert or an auditorium size.
Mm-hmm.
Triple O is roughly the size of a classical guitar.
Or folk size, they call
sometimes
that.
called folk. And we're talking, especially from double to triple to dreadnought, not many inches difference. And then, of course, there's a jumbo on top of that. So that's basically how it's looked at in the guitar world. Oh, that's a double O size.
Yeah, but only Martin has assigned double O to
Yeah.
the size of a
But
guitar.
other
So,
companies
they call it something different. It's
Right.
a concert. It's a grand auditorium. It's a
Seagull calls it a folk. It's
Folk.
a folk size.
concert. Yeah. And what other good names again? The Gibson. What would they call the? Because
Well, I don't know if they had the B series, the
Yeah.
LG series. Before that, I think there were some L's that were flat tops.
yeah.
Um,
They were. Yeah.
So
So it's just the point is it's not standardized.
right.
Yeah.
And a mini dreadnought, if it's what I'm thinking of, which is relatively new, is just what Martin calls their parlor size guitar,
So
like a baby
guitar.
Taylor.
There's a baby Taylor, and that's it's a little more dreadnought than the regular Taylors. The standard kind of
guess.
auditorium size Taylor.
It's a
The auditorium,
parlor.
that's another thing about the popularity of the Taylor. People really dig the body shape, the auditorium size. It's comfortable to play, even though it's not particularly thin necessarily. It's still more comfortable than the Dreadnought. The Teton we sell, that is that size. I often will put the Taylor in their hand as well when they're trying it out, and they end up buying the Teton because it costs the third.
It's a lot.
What the Taylor
cheaper.
costs, yeah. And it sounds great. But a lot of what people prefer about the Taylor is that body size, which is another little bit of Robert Taylor's genius, I suppose.
Right.
All right. So, couple more times. Let me make sure I got everything from the room. Once again, while we got a bunch of people here, please subscribe and like and hit the reminder button for the next show. This helps us keep this thing going. We're not going to NPR you too much about come on, folks, you got to pitch in. But that's all we need is just a little more attention online to keep this thing rolling. So if you can do all that stuff, subscribe, watch the other videos, look at us on Instagram and Facebook. And that's just enough. Thank you. If anyone would like to say thank you. Michael Sullivan says, I'm 5'8", and OMZ concerts are easier for me to play. So, yeah, I believe that. You don't have to be. 5'8's normal, and it's still a Dreadnought's big. So you don't have to be, even particularly short or anything to.
I'm 6'2", and my favorite guitar is basically a double O.
Yeah.
It's just really comfortable and easy and fun to play.
Whoever's calling, we're closed. Not that they
sorry.
figured it out. The answering machine might have picked up. Well, Michael Sullivan said we're talking about how many guitars, peak guitar, and all that. He says he has 5 guitars plus his 78 Fender Music Master. That must be the one that you got a couple years ago. I couldn't remember who got that one. Remember the Music Master bass?
What does it mean plus? Why is it that?
It's not a guitar.
It's a bass. That's right. Okay, the Music Master bass.
But that's a special bass because that has a special custom wound pickup by Scott Miller, and he wanted to make it sound like a P bass.
Right.
So, yeah. Let's see if anything else hot in the chat. Dreadnoughts exist because of banjo players. Yes, goddamn banjo. Who would have thunk that someone... Banjo is the trumpet of the string world. Turn that thing down.
You mean a trumpet's that loud?
A trumpet blew down the walls of Jericho, right? Remember that?
Right.
So a trumpet was made to intimidate your enemies, like the bagpipes. It was made as a weapon, not an instrument. We joke about banjos, but every joke has some truth in it. We have a banjo here for sale. It's a great banjo. Come in here and buy it. But banjos are it's a good instrument to play in a bar fight. It's they're lots of metal, sharp metal parts on the banjo. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. Just keeping up with the banjos and the brass instruments. There was a brass instrument craze in the the teens and 20s, and that had a lot to do with Martin's popularity of their large guitars. What do you think of the 4x10? I think they're magic. Oh, well, that's nice. So 4x10 cabs, yeah,
Great.
Just don't ask someone to help you carry it because they'll complain. They'll never let you live it down. We have the Fender 4x10. If you haven't seen that, look it up on our site.
Basement 100.
We have a Basement 10. It's the 50-watt Basement within a 410 cabinet. 410s is a great sound. However, I will say this. Remember when I swapped the speaker on we had a DeVille come in with 3 blown speakers.
Yeah.
And I put a 15-inch in instead of the 410s.
Yeah.
That sounded good.
Yeah, that did.
And we had 2 DeVilles side by side for a little while. And that, I really like 15 for guitar. If you haven't tried 15 for guitar, try it. It's cool.
Right. I think it depends on the music you're playing. I'm trying to think of like a heavy, hard, modern rock band that uses 10s instead of 12s or 15s even. I can't think of one. 4x12s is the sound they like, which is much more mid-range.
For metal, definitely. The heavy
but
music.
Rockabilly guys, and probably jazz guys, 410s, 210s is great. Bass players, 10s are way better than 12s.
But 15 for guitar, I'm not kidding. I regret selling it. I sold it here for $300. Someday I'll get it back. A Fender Basement 215 cab that went with my Basement head. And the thing was, it sounded terrible for bass and great for guitar. I mean, they're guitar speakers essentially. From the '60s. Right. They're just not
little lightweight Jensens.
Yeah, no, they just can't handle the bass so well. But man, that was a great sounding guitar cab. If I see another one of those, I'm buying it.
Probably more than $300 now.
The PV Delta Blues had a 15. Yeah, we sold a Delta Blues not long ago. Yeah. That was a good. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of steel players love. Steel King is a 15.
Right. The Vibra Verb.
Vibra Verb. Yeah.
Lex Romaine has one.
Fender had some 15s. I think the guys from Los Lobos were putting 15s in everything for a little while.
Right.
So they would buy a twin and then put a 15 in it, and swap out the baffle, and
Lab L9. I think that was the Lab with a 15. Yeah. So yes, the more speaker moving, the better. Get 8 15s. There you want to sound.
Yeah, if you want. Yeah.
Of course, it won't fit in even a van, but
good practice acoustic guitar amp. The Fishman Loudbox Mini is the best acoustic amp.
Yeah, and the little Fender
it's a great
Acoustasonic
deal.
40, is it?
Yeah, the Acoustasonic 40 is fine. Eric uses on his gigs and stuff. Yeah, but which we have here. But the Fishman Loudbox is a great amp. Hats off to
good
Fishman on that one. All right, it's coming to the wrap it up time, folks. I didn't even get through all my time killers, so I got time killers for next week.
Not fair.
So the wrap it up speech is this. Once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like and hit the notify button, and we'll be back here next Wednesday talking about the same old stuff and some new old stuff, but mostly old stuff. If you have any questions for next week's show, leave it in the comments from this week's show. We'll double check it and we'll talk about it next week. And if you're not watching this in real time, all that we just said to you also applies to you.
Yeah.
Go back and watch the whole thing if you came in late, and or leave us some comments and we'll talk about it. And I think this heat wave is breaking, so
Oh, yes.
It rained
Supposed
a
to
little
cool
bit,
off
so
tonight.
feeling good about that. So everything is going all right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Stand
Yes.
by for the end.
Hasta luego.
Hasta Winnebago. Our feet are the same.